Bartholomew coming at you on a fairly mild day, I would say. Here in my state, there's some snow on the ground, but it's not too cold. Nevertheless, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be with all of you for the next 2 hours. We're going to play 3+0 Blitz as normal. A lot of chess going on right now. There's Tata Steel. Obviously, there's a ton of online events you can follow or play, participate in at any given time. So we are really lucky right now in the chess world, I feel. Greetings to everyone on Twitch and YouTube as well. Just as a reminder, we're on both of those platforms. And if you miss this live, I don't know why you would be watching it right now if you missed it live, but you can always watch it on one of those. I believe the VOD is available on both Twitch and YouTube. I see the YouTube chat's already popping off. This is great. Dread Herod said, excited to play. Yes, I hope we get a game today. The only stipulation, or stipulations, I should say, you got to challenge me to a 3+0 game. It can be casual or rated. It doesn't matter. I'll put my rating on the line against you. And it has to be standard chess. It can't be a variant. It can't be like, Horde or something like that. We're not going to branch out that far. So, as long as we got that going, those two things, we're good to go. Good evening, Yanni Gogo. What's up with you? Jadine asks, will I play Scandi as black? Oh, yeah, you bet. Yeah. I played a Sicilian in this game, but we'll mix up the openings for sure. Hello, All-Start. This is good night from India. Yeah, I hope you're having a good evening. Maybe we'll get a game in. Greetings to Disgrace on Twitch as well. It says howdy howdy from Ireland. Hi, Malcolm. Malcolm says, loving the volume of streams recently. Can't even keep up, LOL. Yeah, I've been streaming a lot on my personal channel. I've been playing a ton of Blitz. I've had a bit of a streaming renaissance lately. My strategy with streaming on my personal channel is I always stream relatively short sessions. And I would recommend this to you guys in your own play, even if, of course, you're not streaming, because I know not many people do that. But if you have any issues with tilt or playing too many games, I highly recommend that you set a hard cap either to the number of games that you play in a session or just the length of time. Like I always put a timer on my Blitz sessions nowadays, and I strictly adhere to that. So if I say I'm going to play for 30 minutes, I play for 30 minutes, and then I quit. All right, I'm going to try to trap my opponent here a little bit, because Rook D1 is a very natural move, and it's not a mistake yet, but it could be a potential area of weakness for White if I take and then play Knight E4. So we'll see how White responds to this. Oh, did the title not get updated? We got to get a Lichess mod on that. Unfortunately, I cannot edit the title myself. Oh, yeah, it does say Agad Mator Christmas Arena Part 2. Commentary with I am Alex Astana. Yeah, unfortunately, for those who are fans of Alex, I am not Alex. I can confirm. Nor is this the Agad Mator Christmas Arena Part 2. Hopefully, No Joke Chess is here to change that. Hyper or Win, thank you for subbing to the Lichess channel with Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. Okay, now I can pick that pawn off. Let's take it with the knight. Attack the bishop. It's supported by my bishop. Hello, No Joke. Good to see you. Just fixed the title, so if you refresh, you guys should see the accurate title now. All right. Let's go here. I'll try to get a trade in wherein the b2 pawn is under attack, and White is unable to defend this pawn, in fact. Hello, Slovak Libri. I didn't catch much of the Tata Steel games today, I gotta say. I did see the big result of the round in the Masters. I'm going to spoil it in a second, so feel free to pause this or mute it or something before I talk about one of the games. Thank you, Masal, by the way, for the game. I think you were doing just fine. This setup basically was about equal, I think. Maybe around here you can play a little bit better. I don't know about Rook D2. I actually think perhaps you want to go G4 here if you want to back my bishop off. So that could be a thing. Maybe you start playing with a side pawn as well, a4, trying to grab some space because you got a 3 versus 2 on this wing. But thank you for the game. Let's accept another challenge here. But yeah, in reference to the results in the Masters today, round 2 of Tata Steel, Magnus did beat Anish Giri. Magnus had the white pieces, and you know that's always a heated matchup. Let's play Alekine's defense against Dread Herod. Hey, Dread Herod, I just saw you in the chat. Good to get a game with you in. And it seemed like a fairly straightforward victory for Magnus. I'm not going to say easy because nothing is easy at that level, but it didn't seem like Magnus had much trouble converting against Anish. Do I like the Benoni? I like playing against the Benoni. I'm not a big Benoni player myself, no. I played the Schmid Benoni a little bit, but not the pure Benoni. I think the Benoni is kind of a difficult opening. I think you really got to know what you're doing timing-wise, if that makes sense, in playing the Benoni. Let's go e6. I don't know about taking this pawn yet, because if ever I take here, there's some problems down on b7. My opponent's really encouraging me to do it, though, so I might do it. At this point, I might go ahead and capture that. I don't know. I'm going to keep the tension. I just don't like giving up my light square bishop here yet. What did I have for dinner at my parents' last night, says Doth Crane. Yeah, Doth Crane knows that I went over to my parents for dinner. Let me see what I want to do here. I'm still thinking about this tension at this point. I think now I should probably take on e5. Yeah, I'm going to take on e5. But to answer your question, Doth Crane, I had a lovely Rachel sandwich. You guys know Ruben and Rachel sandwiches? Yeah, my mom made some awesome Rachel sandwiches. Really good. Alternative stream title, 2 hours of focus blitz on Lichess. Yeah, Mark John watches my channel. Nice. Ah, was this hanging? I should have taken that one. All right. Good move here by white. Dread Herod defends the pawn on c4. Yeah, you know, I can still try to go for this, but always the b7 pawn is lost at the end. So I'm just going to castle. Now I actually might be threatening to take here. That's right, Drazinho. Oh, hello, Matty Showbiz. Yeah, that's a good line that I recommend from the white side against the Benoni. That's a reliable line, for sure. But some players can play the Benoni. I think it takes a certain type of mentality to play some of these flank openings and lines with a fianchetto dark square bishop. I think you got to understand what you're doing timing-wise, trading pieces, pawn breaks, all that good stuff. Okay, so things are looking good here. I'm up a pawn. Not sure how great my opening play was, but we are up a pawn at this point. Hilk on YouTube asks, do you think it's possible for Magnus to reach 2,900? You know, it's so difficult. If there's one player who's going to do it, obviously it's Magnus. But the mathematics behind it just looks super tough to me. What does he need in White Kanze, this Tata Steel tournament, to even break even on rating? I think it's something like he needs 9 out of 13 to break even on rating. So the bar is already high just for putting in an average performance at the rating level Magnus has occupied for the last many years. So I think Magnus's best chance to reach 2,900 is if some players come along and break 2,800. So he can start farming them. Yeah, Jay Pesky says to gain 1 point is 9 out of 13. Yeah, that's crazy. So never say never, but I think he ironically might need some help from his fellow competitors. They need to increase their ratings so he can take a little more off of them. Okay, I'm going to set a cheeky trap. Come into my lair here, rook g7. Come on, Dread. You know you want to. Need Fabian Ding to get to 28-20. Ooh, now this could be interesting too if I go h5 and try to trap the rook, but the rook is not purely trapped. So I think I just got to go check now. But yeah, that was the idea. Knight f5 would have been a fork on the king and the rook sitting on g7. Have I given up on GM norms temporarily or forever? Well, kind of same thing. Never say never. I'm definitely not actively playing or studying a whole lot of chess right now. I've been playing online, but I'm not, putting in the work required to go for Grandmaster. That's for sure. But I think I'll take another crack at it someday. Yeah, I don't think I'm done. Because I still really enjoy playing tournaments, but finding the time for them is quite difficult. And now I get this fork. Thanks to the pin. Okay, Dreadhair, thank you for the game. Your pawn's got a bit extended here. That is the goal of the Alekhine's defense, by the way. So black plays knight f6, goading the pawn forward, trying to get white to overextend, and then you start chipping away at those pawns. It was probably okay for you. I don't know about playing without your pawn going to d4, though, for a protracted period of time. That's not typically the way to go. So you do want to think about playing d4. No Joke Chess in the chat was talking about the approach with like d4 and then just knight f3 here. I think No Joke said that this leads to a small, boring edge for white, which I think is true. I think this seems to be one of the most reliable ways to go for white at the moment. But the Alekhine's defense is kind of one of these like second-tier openings. Maybe you could say Scandi is even in the same bucket. But a line you don't see a lot at the top level, but is absolutely fine at lower levels. You'll probably face a fair amount of knight c3 if you play the Alekhine's defense, by the way. E5 is the overwhelming theoretical move, but you'll get a fair amount of knight c3, possible transpositions to a Vienna or even a Scandi if you want. But if Tony Rotella is in the chat, by the way, our faithful Tony Rowe, he can tell you all about the Alekhine's defense. He actually has a great tutorial on the Alekhines on his channel. I would highly recommend. Okay, Giovanni, let's play g6 here. Hello, Legend Killer. Thank you for checking out that D4 course. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a free D4 course on Chessable. That's what he's referencing. It's about 45 variations. Gets you up and running with D4 main lines. All right, I've played this position a fair amount. I generally like what black is working with here. Okay, this looks a little bit weak. I can't play rook b8. This guard's here. So maybe queen b6? Or just knight f6? It's my most ambitious move here. I'm actually not sure. I'm going to go knight h6, wild card. Hello, Belgian Novice. Good to see you, buddy. Suspect Agent says Magnus plays the Alekhine occasionally, right? Probably in Blitz. I think he plays kind of a form of the Alekhine's defense. What is the name of it? He used to mess around with this opening. It's where like the knight goes back to g8. What is the name of that line? Someone will definitely know what I'm talking about. It's got some funny name. Yeah, the Norwegian rat. The Norwegian rat. So yeah, he dabbles. He dabbles. The Brooklyn defense? Oh, does it have multiple names? A modern / Alekhine hybrid. Yeah. E4, G6, D4, knight F6. Inviting E5. Thank you, No Joke Chess. Let's go here. Might expand with F5. All right. Do I end up playing F5? Looked decent. Let's go for it. It's a typical pawn break. The center's stable enough. I think I can do it. And then usually you want to take back with the pawn, in my experience here. Then you can keep control over E4. You can pressure your opponent. I'm trying to see if I can sneak in a knight F3 move somewhere, but it's not simple to arrange. Maybe queen H4 now? Or probably just queen F6, or even take and queen F6. Almost feels like I have a trap here, but I'm not seeing it. Let's go queen f6. Try to speed up a little bit too. Okay. I'm going to take this way. Don't tell Giovanni. E4, G6, D4, Knight F6 is the Norwegian rat. The Brooklyn defense is E4, Knight F6, E5, Knight G8. Right. Yeah, and that's why I wasn't thinking it was the direct Alekhine's defense. It's kind of a hybrid, as No Joke said. Oh, Giovanni, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do that to you. Yeah. So you had to play something like King H1 or maybe F4 and have your rook guard that square. Looks a little bit worse for you here, but I think you're doing okay. Engine wants you to play F3, also a possibility. But yep, the sneaky knight fork with the pin going on. Thanks to the game, Giovanni. In general, I think in this line, this is not the best move order. This is sort of like not a Meraxi bind yet because white hasn't put the pawn on e4. But the timing of this, black's attack on d4, favors black because white would prefer that the pawn already be here so you can reinforce with bishop e3. But bishop e3 now, although playable, would block the e-pawn, so it's not as desirable. All right, thank you for the game. We got a lot of challenges, 50-plus challenges. I think I saw it flash up there, 138 challenges, if that's correct. But don't let that discourage you. Just throw your challenge in. There's no penalty for not getting a game. We're usually averaging about 20 games per session, I've noticed. It's pretty consistently like 19 or 20 games in the 2 hours here. Alahan, hope you're there. And just as a reminder, there's no priority given to the time in which you challenge, or if you're a subscriber or whatnot, patron. No, there's no priority given. Although supporting the site is nice, everyone has an equal chance of getting selected. It's truly a egalitarian system. Totally fair selection process. Okay, I'm playing the Alapin. I'm all up in Halahan's business. I might go for this queen takes d4 line. I kind of like this sometimes. Leads to interesting positions. Did anyone else play this variation? Normally you're taking with the pawn and supporting the center, but the queen's a bit pesky out here. Maybe this is my Scandinavian instincts kicking in. But when they attack your queen, you park it on e4, and then you get ready to play bishop d3. And you'll be shocked by the amount of people who don't easily deal with that pressure down on h7 that will be coming. They might even castle and blunder into checkmate. That definitely happens. Because they're just kind of staring down at their own pieces, and they get, tunnel vision. But I don't think that's going to happen to Halahan. They're pausing. Halahan's considering what to do. And, okay, let's go knight a3. We'll develop this way. Hello, Spudge. Greetings, Swole, as well. All right. Now, I kind of want to send the knight here. Yeah, probably this is decent to control this square. I think the best way for black to deal with this queen on e4, by the way, is to use the pawns. But I feel like Halahan's going to castle queenside. I just get that vibe. So, in light of that, is there something I can do right now that maybe says, hey, I know what you're up to, buddy, and I'm going to try to make things a little difficult for you when you do castle that way. RYK, hello to you. I cannot pronounce your name. That is a very difficult one to pronounce. But thank you very much for tuning in. Hello. Oh, thank you, Aryan, on YouTube. Says, I guess the best part of Lichess is your weekly stream. Aw. Says, I hope it continues. Yes. Yes, I think it will continue for the foreseeable future. Thanks to Lichess for this opportunity, by the way. As always, I think it's super cool that they do this. Let's castle this way. I don't want to postpone my own castling for too long. Yeah, f6. Okay. All right. Do I want to keep that there? I'm torn. I'm going to take Takes with the pawn. Interesting. Okay, let's go here. This is heating up a little bit. Black still hasn't committed that king, but I think it's going to be time soon. Ooh, now I have queen g6. I don't know about that last move. Queen g6 looks pretty juicy here. It's not going to be an instant loss for black or anything because they can bail this way, which they definitely should. Yep, got to stay out of the danger zone. Now do I go queen here? This probably wins an exchange. I think I can play here. Rook e8, bishop g6, and that rook is running out of squares. Bishop f8, queen f7 probably. So I think I'm going to win material here, but not over. Whoops, wrong bishop. Reich says that's an Icelandic palindrome. Okay, well, that's definitely why I'm having trouble pronouncing it. Shout out to Iceland, by the way, one of my favorite countries. Oh, he can just go here. He or she can just go here. I did not see that. Good defense. Well, let's get the bishop coming in here anyways. Still interesting, but the time situation is dire for black. Am I playing in any professional tournaments soon? No, yeah, we're just kind of talking about that. I really do not have any plans. I have no tournaments booked. Speaking of Iceland, I am thinking of playing the Reykjavik Open. It's in, I believe, April. That might be a tournament I would play. I've played it before. I really enjoy it. Okay, let's invite everyone to the party here. Get some pressure going down here. If you guys are looking for a very fun, well-organized international tournament, I would highly recommend that one. Let's go check. And I believe they will have it this year. They've announced that they're going to have it despite all of the COVID restrictions. I really want to play this move, although it's entirely unnecessary. Let's go here. Okay, rook g8. That traps my queen. But I can go here. I don't know, actually. Because if I go there, queen takes d6. I'm going to do it regardless. Okay, now probably here. Oh, the mate threat. The one little checkmate threat we're going to make sure we prevent. That was a very tangled position there in the center and on the king side. Thank you for the game, Halahan. So I would recommend playing f5 here. This is the way to deal with this line, which I think you'll see in the database, reflected in the database. Let's click to the masters. Yeah, f5 top move. Looks like d6 also playable. You can see even on the Lichess database. Those are the top two moves. f5, and if takes, you take with the knight. Kind of back off the queen. That was a good game. Yeah, good game, Halahan. Even though it's showing +4, +5. Yeah, I think up through about here, if you castle this way in particular, maybe you postpone that decision with your king a little bit too long. But if you castle that way, anyone's game here. I wonder if later you had chances or if it was a mirage. Like rook g8, I do lack squares for my queen, but I think the position is so overwhelming it doesn't matter. Yeah, rook takes e7 is another good move. I took here. I was thinking if queen takes, take with one of the rooks. Probably this rook. Rook e takes is also good, I guess. Yeah, even some simplification like this should be pretty strong for white. But thank you for the game. Okay, on to the next game here. Let's do this. Okay, McCronin. Good luck. Let's play c4. Hi Oak says on YouTube, speaking of Iceland, my girlfriend wants you to do a video from a hot spring again. That is a old school reference on my channel. So when I played the Reykjavik Open one year, I was doing like little vlog style things in between rounds. You've seen some streamers do that, especially Levi Rosman. He does recaps of his GM tournaments. I think his tournaments in general. I did one of those with my tournament in Iceland. It wasn't like strict game recaps, though. I would usually just like turn my camera or my phone on and talk for like 5-10 minutes to it after the round. And one of the days was a rest day, and so there was no game being played that day. And I went to this this little hiking spot and hot spring area on the outskirts of Reykjavik. It was probably 45 minutes, an hour away from the city. Great little spot. You know, beautiful, easy hike. It was like a 2-mile hike, maybe. Wasn't super intense. And there are hot springs at the end of the hike that you can actually get out and jump in. And it's unbelievable. It's like being in a spa. It's just a geothermal spa. And people bring their bathing suits. You just jump in. The ground was freezing. This was probably February or March when I went. But I filmed one of the videos from this. I was like, oh, this would make for a cool little video to show on my channel. And I was there with Grandmaster Eugene Perlestein, who some of you guys might know. So he was there too. And there were some really funny comments on the video. One in particular that stands out to me is like, Eugene was in the water and he was at like neck level with the water line. And someone made a comment. They were like, it looks like Eugene is CGI'd into the water because you could see nothing of his body and just his head. And I still laugh about that comment to this day. Okay, meanwhile, I'm punting some material here. Let's go here. We'll dare them to take on this one, which I think would actually lose material. But in conclusion, Iceland's awesome and you guys should go. And I might play the Reykjavik Open this year. Okay, what do I do? Knight c4, queen takes b4. Can I somehow win material there? Actually, I think so. I'm going to do it. Icelandic Gambit today? Yeah, I can try. I can definitely try. What do I think of Naroditsky? I think he's a terrible person. He's a menace to the chess community. No, I'm kidding. I love Danya. Danya is one of my friends. He's a great dude. He's Rebecca Harris on Lichess, and he has a YouTube channel. He's highly educational. Let's go here. Also one of the strongest online players out there. Blitz Bullet. I mean, he's unbelievable. Okay. Do I double, allow that pawn forward? I don't know that I can stop that pawn. Oh, but I see a little trap. You guys seeing what I'm seeing? It's very risky, though. I don't think it's worth it. Yeah, it's... I think I should just go here. I'll show you the line I'm thinking of after the game. But suffice it to say, it would be pretty wild. Do it? No, I don't think it worked. I was tempted, though. I was tempted. Best chess person is Eric Rosen. Oh, don't even get me started on Eric Rosen. Another absolute terror of the chess community. Kidding. He's awesome, too. Okay, let's take. Now I'm going to try to maneuver this knight into e6 and threaten this and this. Yeah, my opponent's pawns were just too loose here. Yeah, it's collapsing. Mate threat. Another mate threat. We're going to scoop. Check. Improve the pieces. Someone was asking about piece placement a little earlier. That's what we're doing right now. We're just improving our pieces. Gradually converting here. G5. All right, we're gonna get to trade that rook. And now I can pre-move my way to victory. Okay. Thank you, McCronin, for the game. You know, I think you were doing all right. I might have got a little squirrely with my C pawn there. C B pawn. I think in hindsight, maybe this move is questionable for me. Bishop D6. If you ever get into this structure as black, know that getting in C5 is your primary goal. It can be difficult if you don't get C5 in. Show us the trap line? Yes, I will show you. So what I wanted to do right here after D4, Engine says this is winning for white. Even though black has 3 pawns, the pawns are kind of disconnected. So I wanted to go here and allow this pawn forward and then take on F7, but not take with the rook, take with the knight. And do you guys see what I'm going for with this idea? What is white threatening? So imagine black plays D2 here. How will the game likely continue? And for bonus points, why doesn't it work? Because I'm pretty sure it doesn't work, although I have not verified that yet. Very good. Some correct answers on Twitch. Let's check YouTube. Hello, Richard, by the way. YouTube might be a little bit delayed. Yeah, so knight h6 is the idea. So if d2, knight h6, this is always a mating pattern you got to look for, right? It's like the blind swine mate. The pig's on the 7th, the rook's on the 7th. But, you know, we can't just optimistically evaluate g takes h6 only, right? Black has another legal move, king h8. They should definitely play this move. And now, yeah, I could take here and threaten mate in 1, but black is queening with check. So black's going to get in all the checks here, and I'm dead meat. They can take on f2 multiple ways. They could play queen f3. No way I'm going to survive this. This is probably just mate on the next move, actually. So I would bet that the engine finds some way for me to play here, but I don't know if it's going to be knight takes f7. Let's just verify real quick. Yeah, it's not too late to change our mind. Knight e4, the engine's recommending. If takes, it would be great for the content. And yeah, there's a chance that my opponent would take here, but you can see after king h8, the best I'm going to get is a draw. I have to bail out with, yeah, either check, could repeat. I didn't see that variation, but that's kind of a funny one because if takes, there's a back rank mate. So we might have some weird perpetual like this. Or some other move, rook d7. But rook d7, there's always check here. And actually, that probably leads to the same perpetual, funnily enough. White is really playing with fire if they do this, but it's still not too late to do this, because if takes here, you don't check with this rook, because if queen takes d8, you check with that one, and black will lose. So in effect, black would have to go here. That's quite the perpetual, right? Again, black still can't take here because of the same mating pattern. Very often happens, by the way, that mating pattern with a rook on f8. So I know I just fired off a bunch of analysis there, but that shows how you can't just look at the line you want your opponent to fall for, right? Like that's kind of chess 101. And there's no reason to take this risk when that d-pawn can be pretty easily corralled otherwise. So Cronin, thanks for the game. Yeah, I think trying to think a little bit more how you're going to get in c5 is better. Ooh, a knight g5 was straight up winning for me right here. Guess that makes sense because h7 is going to be hard to guard. Probably g6, queen h4 or something. Thanks for the game. Let's go on to the next one. Philanthus. I've played Philanthus before. Okay. Let's play... I'm feeling Gambity. Let's play a Danish Gambit. Stuck at 2,300. Any tips? I mean, that's a pretty good rating. I don't think I'm going to be able to give you any general advice that's going to be too helpful to you, Manish. Might be time to get a coach. Maybe get some direct feedback on your games. Anton says, what's the usual cost of going to an international tournament like the Reykjavik Open, including all the costs like hotel, flights, etc.? Oof. That's going to vary widely by jurisdiction, right? Or venue, let's say. The Reykjavik Open is not a cheap tournament, let me tell you. Iceland is one of the more expensive countries in the world. I think if you're playing in Western Europe in general, you have to expect to pay up. So that would be an expensive one. Let's say the tournament's like a little over a week long. I think with flights, hotel, food, and everything, Again, it depends where you're flying from. I would say pretty safely 2,000 to 2,500 USD would not be an exaggeration. Ooh. So this looks tempting, but actually, I have this move. So not cheap by any means. But you can maybe cut some costs if you're taking a shorter flight, maybe from Europe, for instance. Some of the flights are going to be a little more reasonable. Maybe depending upon where you're staying, it's a little more reasonable. But that is always, of course, the major thing that holds people back from playing O2B is cost. It's very expensive to play over the board in big international long events. Okay, let's go here. Hello, Imha. Yeah, I'm up a piece now. A3, take here, probably. Yeah, I hope you get a game, Imha. Should I try to go here, looking to get bishop takes a7 in? I think I will. And if b6, then I can check, trade rooks, and play b4, and that bishop will be trapped on the side of the board. Ooh, good move here. Good, smart move. Let's play b4. Yeah, I like that Fallenthus played that because they did sidestep my idea there. What do I think about the 3 queen e7 line in the Danish Gambit? As far as I know, that's supposed to be one of Black's best lines. I don't know a whole lot about it beyond that, but yeah, that is cited in a lot of books, reference materials as being one of Black's best. Looks like such an awkward move, right? Putting the queen in front of your king. It's usually a bad idea, especially that early in an e4, e5 opening. Yeah, playing over the board chess can be prohibitively expensive, unfortunately. It really can. Let's go after this pawn. Take. All right. Here, knight c3 probably coming in. Check. And then just pushing Black further back. Check again. Supported by the knight. I'm going to bring up my king next. Make sure everything's secure. Not drop this knight. We're not going to play king d5 next and drop it. I was going to play something like bishop d4 next. Let's go here. Controlling a lot of territory. You see how I have a little blockade here with my bishop controlling b6 and the pawns controlling those squares? So I could win by staying closer to this pawn too, but I'm just going to go after Black's pawns over here just to make it simple. Gobble all the pawns. Valenthus, thanks for the game. So I believe you can play this way, queen b3. And you could play queen c8 here, trying to defend both b7 and e6. d5, I think, is a little too reckless. I bet there's games from this position, especially in the Lichess database. You guys, make sure you take advantage of the Lichess database tool. It's phenomenal. There's so many games in this database. So yeah, you can see there's some moves that have been played here for Black. It looks like White in general scores pretty well in this line. You know what the book idea is in the Danish? Well, someone was mentioning this queen e7 variation. That's definitely possible. You can also go d5. I think d5 on move 3 is one of the most reliable moves. And in fact, in the Masters database, I bet those are the two top moves. Oh, of course, we got d takes c3 in there, accepting the gambit. So, yeah, one of those three options. I personally like d5. That's probably what I would play here as Black if I had this position. d5 is the clean equalizer against a lot of e4, e5 gambits. It's one of the main moves you should keep in mind. Buster1978 Canada says the Lichess database is very useful. I agree. Phenomenal tool. I mean, look how many games are in the Lichess database. Is it the large? It's got to be the largest existing database out there. That with one click, it doesn't take any time to load, too. That's the beautiful thing about it. It is, let me move my webcam to show you guys. As of now, this will be small, but there are 340 million games. That's what the sigma is here in the Lichess database. Yeah, 188 million E4 games alone. By far the most popular move on Lichess. So, I mean, that's just insane to me. And that you can navigate through this, and I don't know what kind of crazy cloud storage Lichess has, but that you can easily navigate through this database with no lag time. I mean, kudos to the programmers. What a tool. It's just an enormous data set of games, and you can sort by time control and all sorts of criteria. I won't go into that now, but do take advantage of that. Okay. AO10. What should I play here? Let's play D4 this time. I'm thinking like a Jobava London, maybe. Where are my Jobava London players out there? Can be a little aggressive. Yeah, sure thing, Manish. Sorry I didn't give any specific feedback. But if you're 2,300 on Lichess, you're probably a pretty good player. So if you have the means to, it might be good to get some specific feedback against someone. Or with someone, rather. Let's play E3 here. So in the Jobava London, you're putting the knight on C3 in front of the pawn. And now I think I want to go knight B5. 0 in on this point. Black has to go knight A6 here. I don't think there's any other good moves. Maybe they could go queen A5 check, although that's, I think, bad. And then I believe you play C3, and you kind of chill with this knight here on B5, which makes Black's life a little bit miserable. Knight F3, knight E5. This maybe has some more traditional London flavor, where you build this little pyramid of pawns in the middle. But I really like White's chances here. Can I play a Vienna game or Gambit? Maybe. Hello to Hi Just Love You. Thank you for being a first-time chatter. Why was it called the Jobava London? Is that the first to play this line? Yeah, it's called, I think, the Jobava Rapport system. So 2 active, strong grandmasters getting their names attached to it. It's mostly called that because Jobava was the one to popularize it. He started playing it in a number of games several years ago. So that sometimes happens with opening nomenclature. It may not be strictly the first person to play it, because surely it's been played, in the past with chess history going back decades. But Jobava was one of the players to popularize it, along with Richard Rapport. Okay, so I'm giving up the light square bishop because these pawns are really weak. Here, my opponent's attacking my knight. Should I play knight d6? I think knight d6 is a pretty compelling move. It's going to mess up Black's castling. I can still try to get one of these pawns. A little bit of a trap, though. Knight takes e4, maybe here. Although, that might actually work out well for me now that I think about it. Ooh, I'm tempted. All right, I'm not going to think about it too much. This might be unsound, but we're going to go for it. I have an idea here. I think it's okay. And the key variation didn't exactly happen, but okay, so now is my opponent going to castle this direction? I kind of get that vibe. All right, let's go here maybe. I'm eyeing up that rook. And now I can go check and take that if I want. And pick up the other rook. Is there any other kind of cool idea like queen h5 check? I mean, queen h5, queen here. Threatening mate on e7 is pretty tempting too. That might be the strongest because I don't even know how Black really deals with that. The dark squares are so weak for Black at this point. Yeah, I think this is even better. Not often you want to pass up 2 rooks you can win there for 2 minor pieces, but this poses a pretty direct threat. And if queen d8, I guess queen d8 might be playable because I check here, king e5, bishop e5, but black can fight there. Okay, good. They found that move. I didn't see queen d8 originally. Can go here too, queen h6 here and this. Again, kind of the theme being that the dark squares are so hard for my opponent to guard. Let's try that. We're just zeroing in on that rook. Hello, Ahmad Chess. Yes, feel free to challenge me. Thank you. Good evening, Richter's neighbor as well. Yeah, the Vienna is fine. Vienna is a fine opening. I personally recommend to my students to play more Italian game, gioco piano. So knight f3, bishop c4. But you can definitely play Vienna. Mate in one threat here. Hard for black to deal with. I mean, you got to play rook f8, I think, but that's not too pleasant. Now, what should I play here? Should I really twist the knife? Queen g7? I think I'm gonna. It's probably just the best move. And now if rook f7, queen g8, there's going to be a mate on f8. Yeah, this dark square bishop's too strong. We're not even going to take the rook. At least not on the previous move. Ooh. Yeah, now we'll just take that queen. Okay, thank you for the game. AO10. I think this line is kind of pleasant for white, personally. I think you should probably turtle up a little bit here. Maybe even think about a moment to play knight h5 to go after my dark square bishop. You could play that right here. And looks like the Lichess analysis likes it too. As played, it felt like you got a little overextended because these pawns are loose with the whole knight e4 operation. Yeah, so the line I was thinking of here was bishop c6 at this moment where I took on e4 because I do have some issues with these pawns. And then I was thinking queen g4 going after this with some similar play because if bishop takes e4, I probably wouldn't take here because of king d7 maybe, but queen takes e4 I was thinking, and this bishop is untouchable because of that. So maybe the engine finds some interesting way for black to play. Looks like this is just good for white. So yeah, I think the opening was a bit questionable, knight e4 in particular. Queen takes g6 looked pretty good instead of queen g7. Let's see. Instead of queen g... Oh, yeah. Okay. That's mate in two. I didn't see that. Check. Yep. IM's mismade in two for sure. That's why it gave me a dubious mark. Instead of mate in two, I went for a plus 11. Okay, thanks for the game, AO. On to the next game. Hey, Relfex. Greetings, Relfex. We played a number of times on Lichess Plays. Good luck to you. D4, let's play knight f6. And, you guys were asking about a Benoni, so maybe I'll play a Benoni here. Benoni is, I believe, a Hebrew word that translates to son of sorrow. Son of sorrow. I'm going to play a6. This is kind of a little specialty line here. d5 on move 3 is the key move for white. You can play knight f3, though. Knight f3 is definitely playable. And now the idea is d5. And this a6 move can be handy because you've kind of supported the center. Will I be playing blindfold today? I thought about that before I fired up the stream. I'm like, I'm 0-2 in the blindfold games at the end of the session. What do you guys think? I'm willing to do it again. But if you guys have any better ideas, I'm all ears. How do I deal with the London while playing King's Indian? I would recommend a setup where you go like d6, knight d7, and you just aim for e5. That's usually pretty good. A lot of times you can even get a fork in. You get e5 in, Your opponents have minor pieces on f3, f4, and a bishop on d3. And a shocking amount of players will allow e5, e4 with a fork on the light square bishop and the knight. Oh, you guys like the blindfold games? Okay. All right. Yeah, it's pretty cognitively demanding. And so if I play a player above 2,000, it gets really shaky for me. But I'll try it again for the final game. Someone on YouTube asked, is it better to get courses or a coach for beginners? And then someone replied, chess courses don't yell at you. I think it's hard to replace one-on-one coaching with a good coach. And emphasis on a good coach, a coach that knows what they're doing. I've seen a lot of bad coaches out there, unfortunately. There's a ton of coaches who don't really know what to focus on. And I think, honestly, it's usually not their fault. It's just they don't adjust to the skill level, the experience level of the student. But I would say if you can find a good coach who has a proven track record, or maybe material, like maybe you've watched some of their videos on YouTube, free content that you've checked out, I think that's always your first stop. But that's probably going to be a little more expensive. I'd say the next best thing is a good quality course on a topic, especially if it's broad improvement, by a creator that you know does good work. But if I had to strictly choose between the two, I would take a good coach for sure. Good coach is almost indispensable in any sort of endeavor that requires a high degree of skill. Random says, sounds like that John Bartholomew guy would be a pretty good coach then. All right. Now, Relfex, you got to see your knights hanging. Relfex is actually one of my students, so that's why I'm critical of him here. Speaking of coaches and whatnot, I had a feeling he would hang that knight, but that knight was protected here. But when you don't adjust, that's what can happen. And I've made mistakes like that before too, that the pieces are prone to hanging based on the changing position, right? We always got to adjust to the circumstances. Must have a bad coach. Yeah, I can take that one for Relfex. That's a very easy mistake to make, though, because, again, the knight was safe here. Then the queens got traded, and understandably, Relfex wants to get the pieces in the game, but just didn't see that the knight was hanging. I think if g4 is played, maybe knight g3, but let's say g4 even. G4 here looks a little bit difficult for white to get coordinated, but I think it's still very, very much a playable position. Yeah. So we'll talk about this game, Relfex. But not bad, your development up through there. But yes, I would recommend in general that people play d5 in this position instead of knight f3. Thanks for the game, Relfex. Timmy won. Good luck. Kevin. Ooh. Yeah, let's try to play Icelandic Gambit. Someone was requesting Icelandic Gambit, so let's try to get it. Kevin on YouTube asked, hi, John, would you recommend a course on an opening line by one of the super GMs for someone rated 1,300, or would it be too deep? Let's go Bishop G4, the Portuguese variation. Kevin, I think a lot of those courses, like Lifetime Repertoires on Chessable, for instance, you should try to understand the depth of them before you purchase them, and know that for a lot of the big time courses, like a Lifetime Repertoire, which can have upwards of 1,000 or 1,500 lines, they're probably going to be more useful as a reference if they're useful to your rating level at all. And I know it can vary by author depending upon like how relevant they make the material to a lower rated player. But there are other, even beyond Chessable, there's plenty of books and resources out there that kind of tailor to a rating range that's more like an amateur rating range. So I would say like the Lifetime Repertoires are kind of a prominent example of very high level analysis, even for someone like me. A lot of the lines and recommendations and just the general depth is over my head. And I might still get it if I'm really interested in the opening, but I would recognize that it's probably not something I'm going to proactively study the entirety of. You might just be using it as a reference, like playing games And when you're analyzing, annotating your games, hopefully, you look up what an author recommends in a certain course. And a lot of books have operated like that in chess in the past and still do. Like Quality Chess, for instance, if you guys are familiar with that publisher. They produce fantastic works, but they're very theoretically dense, like textbook style. And I can tell you, even for titled players, very often people just like don't study those from cover to cover. It's I mean, if you're really, really detailed, maybe you can, but just know that many strong players like don't operate that way. Okay, here I have an interesting decision. Take, or take. Let me think about this. This is kind of tempting because it threatens mate down here, and I would still be able to take either of those pieces. So I'm kind of tempted to do it. I don't actually see a refutation of it. I think I'm going to play it. And I'm curious what Timmy 1 is going to come up with here. Because there are some traps as well, like my knight might jump into e4 to take away this flight square. Twitch Hollow says, just take. Just take, Kappa. Yeah, sure thing, Kevin. Sam Hat says Hanging Pawns theory videos are great, especially the more recent ones. Yeah, Hanging Pawns is great work. Shout out to Hanging Pawns. I think he's right around 2,000 FIDE, and he's been documenting his journey to improve in chess, especially as an adult improver. Okay, this is getting really interesting. This is probably a good reply. I see a potential nasty trap. And I know you guys want to see it. So I'm going to do it. Oh no. My d6 pawn. And now I got to go here. I could go knight e4 first, but then queen a3. And then we check. And then I'm going to take on d1. But it doesn't end there. This is a crazy sequence. What is White's best move here? Okay, White missed the best move. It was queen takes c6. White could have evened up the knight and the rook material situation before taking the queen. It's kind of a classic in-between move White had. That was an in-between move sequence, that entire thing. Now White's down a knight, though. And I would have been up a pawn in the resulting position, but it would have been much harder to win than this. This is dead winning for Black. Now in a second, White's going to have to worry about a second. Yeah. The knights were causing some trouble there. Yeah, that's very instructive. Queen takes c6. Very easy move to miss in the moment, though. Because you just think, oh, like they took me. I got to take back. Right? But watch those forced recaptures or seemingly forced recaptures because they're often not forced. So if queen takes c6 has been played, that comes with check. Remember, checks are the ultimate in-between moves that disrupt a sequence. So I got to take back. Then White can take here. We can assess the material. Black's up a pawn, but again, it's going to take a lot to win this game. Let's just take a quick peek. Yeah, that's the only good move for White here. You don't want to take on e6, although that would also be an in-between move. You only get one pawn. This is like a desperado sequence, too, they might call it, because both the queens are dead. You want to try to get as much material as you can for it. I'm curious what the computer's going to think, like right here. It likes queen takes b5. Likes that a lot more than queen takes a2. Even knight e4 here. Not a move I considered, but makes sense. Yeah, it really likes queen takes b5. I don't exactly see why. Just says bishop g3, queen f5. I guess Black's up a solid pawn here, but I couldn't resist going for this threatening mate. Queen d3 is the best move here. Okay. And on queen f4, okay, it says check and then queen a5. I'm not going to get too deep into this. This was all correct, though. This move looks good at first, right? Because it threatens the queen, guards d2, and threatens queen a1 mate, most importantly. But it would run into queen a3 proposing a queen trade, and white would be guarding. So I did see this in advance that I have to go check, then check here. Not queen takes d1, right? Tricky sequence. Not queen takes d1. That works great if white takes with the rook, but white is not forced to take with the rook. They can take with the king. And then I would have egg on my face. There's no fork. So this is necessary, and this was all correct. It's just white needs to play queen takes c6 here. Very instructive sequence. I would recommend, if a sequence like that is confusing to you, go back through it step by step. Try to understand what's going on at each moment in the sequence. And then go back to the beginning and kind of replay it in your head and really try to understand what is at stake in a sequence like that. Grand Coup is next. Good luck, Grand Coup. Almost spilled my coffee, but saved. Hi, John. Do you recommend Hanging Pawn's YouTube channel for a chess.com 1700 Blitz player, or check chess.com lessons first? Well, I think Stepan's videos can give a general, decent overview. I think he's definitely stronger in some openings than others. I for sure don't think he's going to give you an absolute masterclass on each opening, but it's generally solid stuff from what I've seen. But use all your resources. There's so much out there. There's no reason to strictly focus on one resource. Even on Lichess, you can go into the analysis board and play through the moves, and it actually shows, I think it's linked up to Wikipedia, shows a little synopsis breakdown of certain lines. There's some information in there. There's the public studies on Lichess. Certainly the chess.com material is good. There's free courses on Chessable too, short and sweet courses for openings. Oh, sorry about that, Happy Pants. Says been trying for the last 3 streams to get a game and still nothing. LOL. Well, I appreciate you continuing to throw a challenge in there. Oh, yeah, there is a video library in Lichess. That's right. Yep. All right, so that pawn is guarded. What if I go c3 followed by queen c2, though? Let's just poke and prod here. Oh, thank you, Filippo. Appreciate it. Have I watched any good shows recently? No, I have not really watched any good TV shows. I'm not big on TV series. I more watch movies, documentaries. I posted this on my Twitter, but The Alpinist is a great documentary. It may not be available in everyone's jurisdiction. It's on Netflix. I know it's available in the US, but I've heard in some other countries it's not as readily available on Netflix. But The Alpinist, about a Canadian alpine climber, Marc-Andre Leclerc, is an unbelievable documentary. I would highly recommend. Oh, I did watch Squid Game, yeah. I did watch that. That's probably the last series that I watched. Yeah, black couldn't defend that pawn, so this is coming unglued for my opponent. Chris says wild sequence. Yeah, I think you're referencing that last game. That was kind of a wild sequence, wasn't it? Very frequently, people will make mistakes in those sequences. And if you just have the wherewithal to spend more time than normal in a sequence like that, in my experience, that already puts you ahead of most people, because most people will blitz through that, or they will make a time allocation error or an assumption that should not be made in those in-between move sequences involving competing threats. Ooh, that's very specific. Richter's neighbor. 10 hours per week. How would I recommend dividing your time to optimize improvement? Yeah, again, going to really vary a lot on your level. I know a little bit about you, Richter's neighbor, but probably not enough to really make a strong recommendation. I will say in general, for most people, they should spend more time playing longer games and analyzing those games. Knight takes or pawn takes? I think I'm going to take it with a pawn. I'm going to try to shift this knight. Get that knight to move. Let's go check. Shall we? Check again. Ooh, and this is mate. All right, Grand Coup, thank you for the game. This is a specific, kind of tricky little line with h4 and then knight 1 to e2. I do play this a fair amount in blitz. Black does have to know how to deal with this. I think e6 is probably the best line here. e6 and then on knight f4 play bishop h7. You do not want this scenario to happen where they take on g6 and you have to take with the f pawn. This is not hardly ever a good structure. So yeah, you got to go bishop h7 here. And then I would recommend trying to develop and attack that knight on f4. So bishop d6 coming up. Thank you for the game. Arnold Shortman, good luck. Let's do this. What have I not played so far? Let's play Caro-Kann. Do I believe in aliens? Yeah. Yeah. Seems like an almost mathematical certainty. But that's just my opinion. So don't take that for anything beyond my opinion. Hello to Ton Meister. Thanks again to everyone watching on YouTube and Twitch. We always get pretty consistent viewership. It's awesome. Let's castle here. Do you believe in aliens on Earth? Like Men in Black style? Do I believe in life after love? That's a great song, by the way. I was listening to that the other day. What a great song by Cher from like the late 90s. Neil says certified banger. I agree. Yeah, this is a typical idea, by the way, with the rook sitting on c8. Though aliens might be too far away that we may never communicate, says TNK. Yeah, there are definite logistical hurdles. There's also Fermi's paradox. Yeah, Drake's equation. That's Fast Strike put in that. Go queen c7. This looks kind of awkward. I don't know that I can exploit it right away. I guess queen c4 might be an idea. But this is, in general, just highly uncomfortable for white. Okay, maybe white has one out here. I'll be curious if white plays this. This could get interesting. There's one move I'm thinking white should probably try for lack of much better. I was thinking knight h4 there. Knight h4 looked kind of interesting. Okay, this could also get interesting. Let's say I go queen c4. Rook here, and then maybe bishop f4. I'm really trying to exert maximum force. Now there's knight e5 at that point. I don't know. I'm looking for a way to force a win, but it may not be possible. Drake wrote an equation. I love his music. Tipsy ton. Hello, Bubble Wrap. Yeah, thank you for tuning in from Denmark. John, do you like fantasy shows or books? Not a whole lot, I got to be honest. I'm not big on the fantasy genre. Now take, I think white's going to... Unless they take with the knight, that's probably the idea, isn't it? Actually didn't see that. Knight takes, I think, was fine for white, in fact. Now, though, they will lose a piece. My opponent is coming up, Shortman. Sorry for the really bad joke. Yeah, that's not easy to see, though, in the moment. I mean, from a couple moves back, I can sympathize with my opponent there. Let's go this direction. My bishop's kind of hanging out here, but I think it's fine. Let's go here. If he takes here, I think I'll play b6. Try to shut the door on the bishop. Okay, let's go b6. I guess this is hanging too. Probably should have taken that. Now, if I take bishop g5, could be the answer. Do I have any tricky business there? Not really seeing it. Let's just play h6. I'm up a piece here, and there's no reason to take any extra risk. Yeah, that was the only legit move. That's right. I'll be curious. We'll take a quick peek as to whether I had a forced win there or not. I wasn't seeing it. Take that. Let's go d4, hit the rook, hit the pawn. Okay, Arnold, thank you for the game. Yeah, it seems like losing the light square bishop in general is not great here. Like knight b4, you probably should step this way to get out of a pin. But I don't think I actually can force a win of material here. The engine really likes white. But it doesn't seem like there's, in fact, a win of material. I was thinking knight h4 is something you should do to go after this. Maybe I can keep the bishop, the engine's saying. And now this got interesting because, yeah, this, queen c4 is probably not a good move. It's given the question mark by Lichess, which makes sense because I thought you had to go rook e3 here. And I was thinking maybe bishop f4 at this point, like really crank up the pressure. So even here, there might be this move. But yeah, here, my opponent found the correct move. They need to take with the knight, though, paradoxically exposing the queen to attack. But when I take them, they take me. This is another one of these competing threat scenarios. And maybe I could keep the chain going, but I don't think this is any good. At minimum, white can take and then take here. And they have other stuff too. So that was a full, get out of jail card for white in this position. And black is not all that much better, if at all, here. So that's how razor thin those sequences can be sometimes when you're already under pressure. Thanks for the game. Okay, night mode, good luck. What's the best defense against the English? Ooh, there's a lot of stuff that's playable against the English. Pretty much all of the main moves are playable. I always thought the symmetrical English is pretty hard to crack. c4, c5. I think black equalizes without too many issues there. Even stuff like g6 on move 1, I think, goes up in value against the English. Whereas against e4 or d4, it's a little bit risky. I play c4, c6 a lot of times because I play the Slav a lot. A lot of times, like with the English and knight f3 on move 1, you can play a line, if you want, that's conducive to your defense against d4. And many times it will transpose. Not all the time, but a lot of times it will transpose. For example, a lot of King's Indian players, they will meet knight f3 or c4 with just knight f6 on move 1 and then fianchetto their kingside bishop. And very often they just get into King's Indian defense positions. But honestly, against c4, e5 is also plenty good. The King's English. E6, preparing d5. I would not recommend c4, d5, the so-called Anglo-Scandinavian. As much as I would like to recommend that, it is not good to exchange your center pawn for the flank pawn. Zuko on YouTube says, where are my 1600s at? Yeah, greetings. Bosque asks an interesting question. Says, John, what are your thoughts on players playing with the keyboard? Cheating or not? So, yeah, again, we were talking about this on last Lichess Plays. I think Lichess came out with something, and I haven't looked into it since that last stream, but they came out with something banning some sort of extension that was highly advantageous for people to use in bullet chess in particular. And I've seen a video or two about it. It looks insane. It does seem to confer a pretty distinct advantage to the person using that extension. So I don't know. I mean, I guess like having modes that people can use, especially if you're differently abled. Maybe for some people, it's like difficult to actually move a mouse or something. Maybe they just find it more convenient to enter the moves in via a keyboard. I think it's good that there are options, but there is a fine line. Like, obviously, you don't want that to get abused by people who are doing it to get a leg up on the competition, let's say, maybe unfairly. So I guess I don't have any real opinions beyond that, but it's a tricky situation, I think, for the Lichess mods because they want to accommodate people, and this move might be absolutely crushing here. But when people are using it to get an advantage, especially in bullet games, really fast games, they got to draw the line somewhere. Yeah, people use it for blindfold play, exactly. Can type the moves in. Yeah, this is a nasty move for white to face because if queen takes, then queen takes d2, king f1, queen takes c1. Just winning more material. It's not mate yet, but wins more material. So, night mode, thanks for the game. Yeah, I think here b3 is definitely a blunder because it allows bishop takes c3, so you kind of got to turtle up in this position. Probably you should play queen a4 here, which pins my knight, develops, also guards a2, although that would actually run into bishop takes c3 as well. Here, take. I'm not actually sure what you should play at this moment. The engine says queen d2 and just allow bishop takes a2. It's tricky because yeah, a3 is another move that might make sense, but I have this bishop a2 reply, and you still have issues here keeping this together. So I think in general, you're kind of facing the sniper bishops in this position. So yeah, in my experience here, most players in this position, if they're playing the trompe, will play f3. I think that's the main move here. Thanks for the game. Druthers, good luck. Oh, hello, A. Becker. Says the extensions being referenced aren't really about typing in moves. It's a thing where you hover over the destination square and press N to make the knight move go there, for example, creates an overwhelming advantage. Okay, maybe that's what I saw. Let's play a bit of an offbeat line here. Yeah, I'm probably not knowledgeable enough on this topic to speak intelligently on it. But suffice it to say, don't download scripts and extensions to try to help you move faster on Lichess. It's probably not a good idea, and you're probably going to get banned. Hey, thank you, No Chill. This is loving this community. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, this is an interesting bishop placement. This happens sometimes in these positions. I'm going to go d6. White can snake the bishop back here and play for d4. Yep. There's the Kopek system. If any of you are familiar with that, named after the late Danny Kopek. It's a line that he came up with, or popularized, rather. Ever play on ICC anymore? Pretty rarely. Yeah, I have not logged in for maybe 6 months or something. Dinkin, thank you for the tier 1. Okay, very odd comment, Happy Pants, but no, that was not me. Can I take this pawn? This looks a little bluffy to me. Take, bishop takes d5. All right. I'm gonna let them see what they have here. We're gonna give my opponent a shot. Got a shot at my king down the e-file, druthers. Oh, e5. Okay, let's take that. What are your thoughts on Haug becoming a grandmaster? Is that the I am from, well, previously an I am from Norway, Johannes Haug? I actually played him in a tournament in Norway back in 2017. Congrats to him. Another Norwegian grandmaster. I think he's been playing pretty actively, as far as I remember. So I'm trying to castle out of danger here. Let's take this. Hello, Brett on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening to Michael as well. Here. Yeah, even if I trade, just trade the bishops. I'm trying to think if I can maybe like go after the rook, but I think trading is probably the safest. I might play g6. G6 definitely crosses my mind. Could help me coordinate. Let's try it. Looks a little bit loosening here and here, but this looks dangerous. Thank you, Dunskies. Yeah, Happy Pants. That's just an odd question to ask. It's very personal, but no, that's not me in either of those cases. This may shock you, but there are a lot of people named John Bartholomew out there. Okay, a little trap here. Take, take. If white takes with the queen, I have rook e1. Checkmate. Oh, and I'm going to get it. Or Druthers might see it now, but... Okay, Druthers falls on their sword. Thank you for the game. Yeah, your rook was kind of bopping around, and that wasn't looking too hot. I think if you're going to sacrifice the pawn, you probably got to take here and open the file this way. So, yeah, take. Try to get that going towards the black king. But I think, in general, you should be a little bit slower here. Knight bd2. You probably want to play this like a real Lopez, where you maneuver the knight over to the king side. So knight bd2, knight f1, knight g3. Oh, yeah, popcorn muscles. They said they're Druthers. Thanks for the game. Cheers. Thank you. But yeah, I think you're actually in somewhat well-trodden territory here. We can click open the database. Some games on Lichess from this position. Maybe not so much in the Masters database. A couple games. But you followed the blueprint if you're going to put the bishop on d3. Yeah, you want to snake it back to c2, play d4. And I think if you just didn't play e5, you're doing all right. So thanks for the game. Well, the engine hates my c takes d4 move. It says knight g4 instead, going for checkmate. Oh, that's an interesting move. But yeah, I think the last thing is you got to move your knight here. Try to coordinate instead of taking on d4. It was kind of a little tactic I was setting you up for. Weak back rank. All right, thanks for the game. Wow, time has been flying today. It's almost an hour and a half into the stream. This has been really fun. Bruma. Good luck. Okay, what have I not played? Let's just play d5 this time. Jimster, none at the moment, although I might be back to playing later this year, perhaps. Let's play this. We're going to go for a triangle. This is an interesting line. Then you grab on c4. This is the principled way to play this. Dioletta says, John prefers the letter I to G, so he stated he would decline the GM's title. Yeah. As I've said numerous times, it's better to be known as a strong IM than a weak GM. Remember that. This goes for rating levels too. You know, it's better to be like an 1197 instead of like a 1201 or a 1202. You get much more clout if you're 1197 than a 1201. It's much more intimidating. Let's go here. I don't want a piece dropping into d6. And notice what I did here. I pinned that knight so white couldn't easily take. I'm trying to defend my little pawn cluster and defend that pawn on c4. John, are you still a Starbucks addict? I still do go to Starbucks a lot. Tipsy ton. I do indeed. But I generally get my coffee in the building nowadays. All right. c5 tempting. Seems a bit premature, though. I think I should probably castle first. Let's cackle. Okay. Probably want to take this guy and then pull the bishop back to safety. You get into a lot of these positions from the triangle where you're up a pawn. White can claim some compensation. They've got some pressure here and here. If they can stop me from going c5, then they might be all right. But I think in general, like the engines are going to like this for black. Knight d5. Yeah, let's play the knight forward, attack this bishop. It can be a little hard to make progress with these pawns, though, because they are blockaded for the time being. John isn't even the only John Bartholomew who has a USCF membership. That's right. Yeah, that is true. This is kind of weird, but do you guys have do you guys get Google alerts for your name? I have a Google alert set up for my name, and even though I'm like, I'd say a niche, somewhat well-known John Bartholomew within like one particular sphere, I'll just get random stuff like for my name that other John Bartholomews have done or are interested in. And, you know, it can be like crime, or there's a lot of like elected official type stuff that gets in the news. It's kind of funny, like, and it makes for like an occasional surprise in your inbox. I would recommend it. Dialetta says there's a criminal with my full name. It sucks. That does suck. I'm sorry about that. Is it really that common of name? Fairly common, yeah. My name. My name's not incredibly common, but there's definitely hundreds of John Bartholomews out there. Is this through Google to do the name setting? Yeah. Yeah, you can set that up on Dothcrane. You can get a Google alert for like any, ooh, this is a good move that I didn't see. Is it though? I can go here. I think you can get a Google alert for like any keyword. Here maybe? I gotta be a little bit careful here. Ooh, I might run into a problem. This is a tricky position. I think this might be the best move. Ah, but even that runs into some issues. Bishop a3 first? No? Ooh, this is a tough decision. Think, John, think. Okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know how well this works out for me. Okay, that was not the move I was worried about, actually. But now I got to play really fast because I'm way down on the clock. Take that. Let's go here. I know I have some back rank stuff, but I'm going to secure my king first. This is going to be tough. Okay, check. My opponent's in trouble, though. I think they're busted, but I got to play this right. Oh, it's going to come down to the wire. I haven't had too many close games today, but this one's coming down to the wire. They can check me on h5, maybe. There's also an interesting move they could try here. I don't know if they're going to find it, though. Their time is running out. They're thinking too long. They're going to lose. Yeah, they played it safe, and they ended up losing. Interesting scenario at the end. Because, yeah, let's say right here. Okay, there's two moves that look interesting to me. Bishop f8 and maybe queen h5, although queen h5 probably just bishop d6 wins. I think bishop f8 is the thing to try here, but it might just lose. Bishop f8, bishop d3. I was thinking check. Oh, but I can step to g8. I didn't think about that. I was thinking king g6, they take here with check, which might still be good for me somehow, because I'm constantly threatening that. But king g8, that's paradoxical. Wow. And the knight, even though the knight is a terrible piece on e8, it's good in the sense that it guards g7. Suited Connect, thank you for the raid, 13. Wow. Yeah, and black is winning here, evidently. This still would have been wild. I mean, if here take, white avoids the immediate back rank mate, I guess I can go here and I've got everything solid. But that does, visually, this looks dangerous for me still. Clutch knight. Yeah, the knight can be clutch. I wonder that position after queen b2. Knight b6 is the move. Wow. I thought knight b6, rook a1 was an issue. Oh, but maybe then I play bishop a3. Yeah, that's probably it. Or rook a3. I thought this would be an issue, but... Or even knight c4. Wow, didn't see that. I really spent a lot of time here. There were various lines I was worried about. Like with knight b6, the main thing I was calculating here was knight a4, and I saw white as rook takes a4. That's why I didn't go for this. Queen takes, take here. Pawn takes, take the bishop. Somehow this is about equal. But thank you for the game, Ibruma. Complicated one. You got me thinking. You got me thinking right there. So I think probably the back rank thing blindsided you a little bit. This would be a smart position, I believe, to play like h3 or h4 for you. And you might have beat me in the time scramble. e4 is also hanging, I guess, but I got to watch my back rank. So thank you very much for the game. Fede Pasqua. Good luck. Hello, Hovannes. Oh, I should make a move. Yes, we were talking about that earlier. No immediate plans, but I will play some tournaments again at some point. All right, let's play knight f3 here. This is one of the best move orders against d4 you can possibly play. It's very challenging. Let's castle now. I'm going to go knight c3. Now, a lot of times knight e4 is the move in this type of position, but no, my opponent does not play it. So I'm going to go here and try for e4 more than likely. Doth Crane says, do you have a specific moment in your early chess career where it dawned on you that you were very good at it? Specific moment. Maybe when I started playing like my first organized competitive chess games, because I played against a computer that I had a lot. There's a video of it on my YouTube channel, but I played against this like tabletop chess computer that had 72 levels. And it took me a long time to beat every level, like a year and a half. But I heavily credit that with improving my game. So I think after I beat all the levels on that thing and started playing humans consistently, gotta guard this pawn. Then I started realizing that I was just better than a lot of people. So maybe that was a moment, but there wasn't like a big aha moment. No. Yeah, 72 levels. Yeah. Still works. Yeah, still a functioning device. Let's go after that bishop and the pawn behind it. Shout out to Excalibur. Do you recommend the new chess computers such as the Square Off? You know, I think they've made a fair amount of advances, but whether I would strictly recommend them, to me, they don't seem to bring a whole lot of like value beyond the novelty aspect of them, like moving the pieces via magnets, moving the pieces automatically. But maybe if you want to try and use them for concentration purposes or to mimic like an over-the-board environment, you could use them. But on the balance, I don't know that they have like that much value. Where's the giant chess pieces? Well, one of them's back there. Well, actually, both of them are. The king and the queen. The queen is wearing a holiday hat. Whoa! I just dropped my rook on d1. I actually didn't see that. I thought bishop g4 was not threatening anything, but it was threatening my rook. If you're wondering why I didn't move that, I just didn't see that that was a threat. At least I have a pawn for the exchange. John Stevens says, I watched that video of you pulling out the old chess computer. Yeah, that's a funny video because I did not edit that video hardly at all. And, you know, in hindsight, it probably should have been edited. But my channel was fairly small at the time that I made it. And I kind of just made it on a whim. I thought it would be interesting for people to see like this old chess computer that I had. And it's subsequently become one of my most popular videos on YouTube. It's called My First Chess Computer. And last I checked, it had like 2 or 2.5 million views or something. And the comments are just like awful, like normie YouTube comments. It's pretty cringe, I gotta say. Like, it's bad. It got into the recommendations, and I just cringe sometimes, like reading to these comments. Some of the comments are cool and like very genuine, but there's a moment in the video where I'm playing one of the levels, and it's one of the lower levels, and I just played it to like demonstrate how the computer works, basically. And people are like criticizing my play, which is fine. Like, you're used to that as a content creator. But there's a moment where I have like a checkmate in 2, and I play this sequence as a checkmate in 2. And to the untrained eye who's not looking at like what the opponent can do, it looks like I have a checkmate in 1. And no joke, probably 25% of the comments on that video, okay, this is an exaggeration. A huge portion of the comments on that video are like, haha, like you missed this move at this moment. That was just checkmate. Like, you call yourself a master? And I was replying to a few of them for a while, like, actually, no, like, there's this defense. And of course, they never respond back. But then I'm like, what am I wasting my time for? You know, people mostly make those comments because they want to feel intellectually superior online. And there were just so many of them, I just got a little jaded by responding to all of them. But it was a fun video, and I might reshoot it at some point. Yeah, normie YouTube comments. It's bad, man. It's bad. Is there some sort of like law of the internet that says once something reaches a certain size, like just generally the discourse goes downhill, like very quickly? It reverts to just childish comments and conversations, if you can call them that. Okay, Fede Pascual, thank you for the game. Yeah, I straight up dropped an exchange. I guess you lost the A pawn, but you were resisting pretty well for a while. I'm trying to think what I would do differently if I were you. Probably play like rook A8 first, like post the rook on the half open file. I was going to go A4, but maybe then knight C5. And after this, you know what I think you should do? Knight E8 made sense. But maybe... Yeah, it's actually tricky because I think I kind of handled this all right. Maybe knight B7 was a step in the wrong direction, although I see why you played it. Maybe F5 here? Just off the top of my head, like perhaps F5, and if knight takes C5, then knight takes E4? I don't know. You're somewhat better here, according to the engine. Okay, it doesn't mind knight B7. It says what you're doing was okay. That move felt rushed, though. I think F5 is a pretty clear mistake because it just drops a pawn. So, yeah, probably need a little more patience here. G6. G6 looks decent. Prepare F5. Just kind of make some progress here. But thank you very much for the game. Hello, Austin. Hyolix says, do you find that difficult in general, the toxic comments that pop up all over the internet as a content creator? You know, I try to keep it in perspective and just remember that I'm really lucky as a creator to even have an audience in the first place. And I just look at it as a, you know, kind of a cost of doing business, if you will, on the internet, that you're going to have to deal with a lot of negativity. But in the scope of things, if you think about the people who actually follow your content and are really engaged in your content, it's a pretty small number. Like most of those comments I'm talking about are drive-by stuff. People get it in their YouTube recommendations. They don't have any attachment to me as a creator. And, you know, they're probably a lot of them are kids, young people. They just fire off comments and then never visit my channel again. So I know it's a lot of that stuff. But I think it would be tough if your content is either geared towards that in the first place, or you're maybe prone to getting in like the YouTube algorithm's recommendations, and you actually take that like the comments seriously when people begin to say stuff like that. So I probably didn't articulate my thoughts very well on that, but for someone like me who's still a pretty niche creator, it's totally fine. But it was like a funny insight into how online discourse goes, like once something reaches critical mass in terms of like popularity. Okay, I could take and double up white's pawns, but I think I'm going to go here. Well, thank you, Elkino. Okay, there's a standoff going on here. I think knight e4. Nah, I'm going to take and then play knight e4. I want to play against those pawns because white seems adamant about not taking me. So let's do this instead. I did make it on time, Austin. Yeah. Why does it say 2-0 for you, John, when he's 1,500? Probably Cartman's Ghost just has not played any rated Blitz games. Probably challenging me to unrated in the past. Although this one is rated, so that is... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is Cartman's first rated game. Okay, let's go a6. Tempted to do this and this. My bishop might get trapped, though. The trapdoor might get shut on it. Let's go here. Maybe you won against Cartman and this is his ghost. It could be, yeah. It's a dolly. Yeah, you went to the comments on that video. Yeah. Let's take. Okay, now I'm liking this for me. But I need to find a way to break through. So I'm thinking maybe f4. Probably they're going to go knight d3, but I can gradually prepare this f4 move. White is solid for the moment, but I don't think there's a whole lot to do here for white is the problem. So we're going to put the gradual pressure, push forward. And a lot of these positions that are kind of seemingly static in the middle game, you want to gradually push forward, just like accumulate advantages, really take your time. Okay. Yeah, in the interest of taking time, I'm just going to tuck away my king. Now, I'd like to have my rook's position like here and here, I think, to try to get f4 in, and also keep an eye on e5, so I might take the time to do that. Also, somewhat tempted now to do this and then take here. But I think it's entirely unnecessary. I'm going to go f4 now because the king has been positioned on this file. I think it's a good time to play this move. Things might collapse here for white, certainly on the clock. White really has their back against the wall. Do friends call you Bart? Occasionally. They more so call me Johnny or Johnny B. Ooh, but now I take with check. I can also go there. Is there mate? No, because the knight guards that square. It would be nice to deflect that knight, but I'm not seeing it. So let's take with check. Take check. E2 is also interesting here. Nah, let's just take the pawn. Okay, Cartman's Ghost, thank you for the game. I think you were doing pretty solid. It's just a difficult position to play, certainly with little time. Because you lack like a pawn break here. Your structure is somewhat inflexible. In theory, you'd like to be able to push e4, but that's going to be hard to pull off. So I have a feeling this whole setup with the queen on b3, usually the queen does not want to go there. Well, okay, I kind of lied. In this structure, you can play that way, but if the queen is on b3, you need to quickly play bishop d2 and rook c1 and line up with my queen to often justify it. I think when you did it, some time had passed, and I can go here. I have a feeling this position is already pretty pleasant for black. That's usually my experience. Yeah, because Cartman's Ghost was hesitant to take me because maybe Cartman's Ghost realizes that a takes b6. This structure is also good for black because black can play b5, b4, start pushing down the file. So if you're going to pop the queen out to b3 early in the Slav, you got to know the move order pretty closely, I'd say. So thanks for the game. Michael says, that's the type of solid opening play for black I should probably adjust to. Rich play in the middle game now. Yeah, that was kind of a high level like grind. Let's play a French. I haven't played a French today. Where are my French players at? C4. Okay, you don't see that too often. I'll go C5. We're going to morph this into a Sicilian. I immediately left the French. I'm like, get out of here. We're not playing any French position. I was just kidding. I meant to play the Sicilian. Luke says they're a French player. A youthful porpoise says merci. Let's play an active line. Active variation. I don't think this variation is very good for black, actually, by the way. But we'll see what my opponent knows here. Rip, I love the French. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of the French myself. Again, the opening, not the people. Not the people. I just don't like blocking in that light square bishop. It just seems... It runs counter. Okay, a little trap here. This looks tempting, but I'm going to play bishop d7. It runs counter to my sensibilities around coordination. Russian dressing greater than French. That is true. I totally agree with that. Let's go here. Position my pawns opposite the color of the bishop. This pawn's a little bit weak, though, I admit. I maybe should not have played that move. But we shall see what happens. Guess I'll go here. I'm kind of messing this up. This is not so great. I might just want to give up the pawn on d6, to be honest. Like, I'm really tempted to play knight d7 now. Just say, all right, you got me. You got that pawn. But I think it's a little bit too important to do that. So I should probably try to hold on to it. I have a built-in excuse if I lose this game based on the opening. Exactly, Anton says, quote, Caro-Kann is basically the French without blocking your bishop. Truer chess words have not been spoken. All right, let's go here. I'm okay with this trade because I can send my king to g7. If you want to give me your dark square bishop, I'm cool with that. Okay, all right. Let's do this now. We can make this work. A little castle by hand. A little freestyle. This bishop might be out of the game now. I've got a lot of pawns on dark squares. I think that was kind of a mistake by my opponent. Still not a simple position by any means. All right, all right. Here, rook c7. I'm still somewhat under pressure. Can I do this? Little trap. Trap being set. Queen takes d6, rook d8. Yeah. Even that might not be so pleasant with the capture on e5 possible coming up, but you got to risk it. Do you think the Caro is a bit closed? I think the Caro kind of gives white the choice of what type of game they want to play, which is not uncommon at all. No, so the Caro is not necessarily closed. Okay, now I think I'm somewhat out of the woods. We are trekking back into civilization here. And I'm going to go to work on these weaknesses. No problem. We're going to leave the tension here. Definitely not taking. I want my pawns to guard the f4 square. This pawn is a goner. Now, how I take it may depend. But that pawn is not looking long for this world. Yes, definitely the knight is a great piece now. Absolutely. So if I take here, white might take here is the thing. In theory, I'd like to take with the bishop. I want to keep knight versus bishop. But I don't think it's a good idea. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to force a trade of rooks first. Because usually if you look for trades, your existing static advantages like pawn structure will be further borne out by those trades. If that makes sense. Now he's going to have to go here. I guess I can't purely trap that rook, can I? There's probably some cute way to play here that works well, but I'm not quite seeing it. Let's go here. I'm still looking for a swap. And my opponent agreed. They could have played rook c7 to try to prolong things there. Okay, I'm really playing this like uber strategic, like long siege of this pawn. But you see what I mean? Like, even though some trades have been made and white can improve this bishop, like white's still going to lose this pawn in the end. Nothing has really changed. And I succeeded in taking it with the bishop because I want good knight versus bad bishop here. Now these pawns are going to get picked off. And white has no time. So, okay. So that turned into a nice strategic situation for me. I really think the position started to flip. I'd say right here if I were to pinpoint something. Not saying black's better necessarily after king g7, but white has to attack something. Otherwise, I really like black's chances here. Yeah, engine actually does say black's better, but I would bet if white plays bishop takes f6, that is not the case. Yeah, bishop takes f6 is a half pawn edge for white. Take. I can still get this. But yes, white would rather have this scenario where my king's always going to be a little bit weak. Maybe they go f4. I have a lot more to think about here instead. Yeah, thanks for the game, Fair's Age. You were putting the pressure on. You might have had something earlier. Queen a4, I think, was an interesting idea. We're following a game or two here. Ooh, c5. You know, I was wondering about c5 at various times. c5 is a way to try to get my structure all messed up so white can try to sack a pawn and maybe open some lines, start laying siege to this structure. So that might have been a good little moment there. Thanks for the game. All right, you guys know what time it is? We're coming up on the end of the stream here. We got time for one more game. I'm going to do this again. And I think it's under preferences. So I'm going to play a blindfold game against a random opponent here, as usual. All set. Let's do this. This is super challenging for me. Okay, Devil's Advocate, 1500. I'm white in this game. Let's play d4. This is a casual game, playing c4. And I know you guys can't see this. Maybe No Joke Chess can put the link in the chat where they can follow this game on my profile if you want to see it. Otherwise, you will be staring at a blank board. But hey, if you want to try to put yourself in my shoes, here you have it. I cannot see the board, but we're going to try to make this work. Okay, bishop b4. Let's go queen c2. We're going to defend there. Pin the knight. Key thing is I got to play fast. When I get in time pressure, like all bets are off. So in a 3+0 game, like you just got to play these moves fast. I see the position pretty clearly. It's easier when the structure is relatively static. You know, if you're playing someone who's blindfolded, I would actually recommend playing a little more fluid and trying to make the game a little more complicated in a smart way if you can, because it's harder to keep track of. When the structure is relatively fixed, that makes it easier for the person who's blindfolded. Okay. Queen b6. You know what? Let's go caveman style. I'm going to castle queenside and try to attack. Speaking of making the game complicated. Black has played h6, so I'm going to try to go g4, g5 if I can. And maybe attack here. You can play blindfold chess. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do it on your own games, you can go into your preferences, as I just did a moment ago, and change it. Okay, queen back to c7. And you know what? Let's go for this, g4. We're using the g-pawn as a bludgeon here. I'm trying to go g5 because that would create 2 points of contact. I want to open my opponent's position. In an ideal world, I take with my knight probably on g5. Maybe the bishop even. Ooh, my opponent takes it. All right. Okay. Let's play rook g1. We're going to line up with their king. Hitting the knight on g4. This looks super dangerous to Devil's Advocate, but they're trying to play Devil's Advocate, I guess, by taking that pawn. They're trying to potentially call my pawn bluff. Is it harder to play with a blank board? No, I wouldn't say so. Not for me, at least. I like having the board to look at, for sure. 95 is interesting here. I think 95 is probably a good move. And if knight takes e5, I'm going to take f6. Ooh, I might be able to take g7 even. No, I got to take f6. Let's see what my opponent does. They're under some significant pressure now, I will say that. Their light square bishop is buried on c8. This looks like an excellent attacking position for me. b5, okay. And I'm already thinking about rook takes g7, rook g1, and then trying to win that somehow, but I'm not seeing how. I could double up my rooks. That might be the thing to do. b5. Can I just ignore that attack? Yeah, I'm going to ignore the attack on the c-pawn. I'm just going to play rook g3. I know that they're double attacking here, but I'm going to get ready to double my rooks. They take on c4. Okay, rook g1. My bishop on d3 is under attack, but I'm gunning for g7. This is a huge amount of pressure on black's position now. Still very complicated, though. This might be unsound. But they have 30 seconds left. They take d3. All right, take here, check. Now, where's my mate in this position? Man, there are some tempting ideas. Probably just want to take back on d3, though, because my queen is blocked right now. So I'm going to take back. Maybe I could have played knight takes d7 there. Knight e8. All right, and I think now rook h7 or queen h7 is mate, right? There we go. Hey, I win a blindfold game. I break my streak of 2 consecutive losses previously. Yeah, either move there was checkmate. Let's go back to the board. Thank you for the game, Devil's Advocate. I do appreciate it. I know you weren't expecting me to play a blindfold game. I hope that doesn't bother you. Let's go check that out real quick and analyze it maybe. Yeah, interesting little attacking sequence there. I wonder... You know what I wonder, like, roundabout here? I wonder about knight h5. Knight h5 might be a decent move. Looks super dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of pieces coming at black's position, but let's just take a quick peek. Okay, the engine is not convinced by rook dg1. It says, it says equal. Yeah, knight h5 only move for black to maintain equality. It makes sense because it hits the rook and also guards g7, and I've got just multiple pieces hanging here. I mean, I really went for it. When black plays b5, like the sensible thing to do would be something like c5. Oh, I can play rook takes g7 right away. Wow, look at this line. Rook takes g7, king takes g7, check here. Now, I looked at this in my head, and I didn't see a good follow-up. The engine is saying your position is so good, John, you can just play queen e2 or queen d1. Even f3 or f4, probably making way for queen g2. Let's say queen e2. I mean, is this literally the plan? Let's just say black takes stuff. Okay, I hope you guys... Oh, I'm threatening that too. I hope you guys can forgive me for not going for this line. I didn't have enough confidence in my attack, let alone my blindfold skills to go for this. Thank you, Chris, on YouTube. Thank you, Austin, by the way, too. But yeah, white's attack is so massive here. That's going to work. What about... Yeah, it really doesn't like knight takes g4. Again, I was kind of encouraged to play this way because when your opponent creates a little hook, a little point of contact or multiple points of contact, ideally, then you can get a pawn break going a little faster. So that's why I went for this. It looks like black is best advised not to take that pawn. Yeah, exactly. Black's bishop on c8 is always a bit of an issue, for sure. You know, I'm okay with how I played this. Maybe if I'm going to move a rook, rook g2 would have been a little bit better. Then knight h5 doesn't come with an attack. But I think under the circumstances, knight takes d7 is good. that one resource was possible for black, but if black doesn't see that, looks like I had everything pretty well under control. Queen takes d3 is the best move here. Yep, it's mate in 10. Obviously, I saw the whole thing. The whole mate in 10. No, just kidding. Yeah, because the f6 knight is going to collapse at some point, which is guarding the h7 square. So, yep. And checkmate with the queen or the rook. All right. Pretty happy about that one. Thanks again for the game, Devil's Advocate. What was the average centipawn loss? I'll show you guys. It was 64 for me and 128 for Devil's Advocate. Probably a little bit cut off. Yeah, I can't scroll down further, but... Or sorry, 121 for Devil's Advocate, 64 for me. Not the greatest average centipawn, although bear in mind, the more tactical the game, the higher likelihood the average centipawn loss is going to be greater too. The engines just eat you up in terms of the evaluation of those complicated games. Sir Diva says, would expect no less than you for you to see the whole mate in 10. Maybe someday. Work on my visualization skills, calculation. All right, we're going to send this off. No Joke is going to choose someone to raid. Thanks to Lichess. Thanks, No Joke Chess, and all the Lichess mods for making this happen. Thanks to all you viewers, especially for tuning in. It's the highlight of my week. A lot of times doing this, honestly. It's really a lot of fun for these 2 hours. Apologies if I didn't get to play you. Don't let that discourage you. There's no penalty for just throwing out a challenge at the beginning of these streams, and just, if you happen to be working on your computer or hanging out, you might get a game. I do play people on my own channel from time to time, and I have been streaming a fair amount. So have a great week, everyone. I'll probably see you guys next Sunday. Take care. Be well. Bye, guys. We're rating Sabina Foiser. Give Sabina our best.